It was a rare glimpse of defiance inside Tibet. People protesting in the streets in March to commemorate the 49th anniversary of the Tibetan uprising. Even monks got involved. Outside Tibet, the images sparked more unrest. The Olympic torch became the target. Demonstrators were organizing. Their goal? To embarrass the Chinese government. And above all, to try to stop the torch from ever entering Tibet. The person driving the movement, Canadian Lhadon Tethong, seen here at a rally in London, England.
Many of you will know her, and she's done so much for this movement. To Lhadon Tethong.
It is such an honor to be here and speak and see such a sea of faces at an important and critical time for Tibetan history.
At 32, Tethong lives in New York City, where she runs an international group of activists called Students for a Free Tibet.
Press release, UK, staff schedule, India, operation.
In this small office, she and her team have been working behind the scenes, planning protests around the world, trying to stay one step ahead of the torch.
It's Tibetans inside that lose. And so for me and for us, that's nothing but discouraging, disheartening, and I think for the IOC, they'll have blood on their hands.
Her controversial point of view has stirred anger and resentment. She's already been kicked out of China. She's received a number of threatening phone calls and frightening emails.
It's abusive, it's meant to intimidate me, it's angry, it's meant to, a lot of people telling me to shut up. Too bad I'm not an assassin or I will kill you.
Pretty harsh words. What do you think when you read that?
It's disturbing, but mostly I just think that whoever this is getting their anger out online, and hopefully they just leave it there.
This one shows Lhadon after she's met His Holiness.
Her strong convictions are rooted in family history. Her father, T.C. Tethong, was born in Tibet when it was known as an autonomous kingdom. But after the uprising of 1959, when China imposed its rule of law on Tibet, Tethong escaped into exile with the Dalai Lama. For years, they worked side by side in India. Years later, when Lhadon and her siblings were born in Victoria, BC, their father taught them about their Tibetan heritage, introducing them to the Dalai Lama when they were young. How do you define yourself?
I'm Tibetan and I'm Canadian, I'm both. I think the thing that I learned growing up is that in Canada and in this family that I grew up in is that I can be both. And that actually it's a strength to be both.
Now, she's using that strength, traveling the world, rallying crowds at big demonstrations, and carrying out small acts of protest.
No torch in Tibet!
In San Francisco, the only North American stop for the torch, she was visible, and so were thousands of other protesters.
For us in this moment, this is a battle for survival for the Tibetan people.
She draws support from the people around her, especially her father, who remains active in the cause.
It made me feel very proud. I'm really that she's doing a great service. We all have to do it as a Tibetan, especially those of us who are in the free world where we could do something for our people. But at the same time, I'm very sort of uneasy about it because they are doing a group of young people without any protection and so on, and it's a risky job too.
But she's willing to expose herself to that risk, motivated by her commitment to Tibet and the people who live a world away, in a place she holds sacred, but one she's never seen. You give public speeches, you protest for Tibetan people, and yet you've never been there. I'm wondering how you square that.
Whether it's my father's memories or whether it's the stories of people who've just come out of Tibet, the suffering is so overwhelming and it's so wrong. And then the desire for me to address it and to try and, help fix it or push for change.
For Tethong, the torch has become a symbol of China's grip on Tibet.
Tibetans will say independence. That's what they're saying. That's what they're dying for on the streets inside Tibet, is independence for Tibet. That's what the words that they are shouting.
And what is independence for Tibet?
It's an independent sovereign nation, as Tibet was. And this is, for me, this is what I'm working for.
How long do you see yourself doing this?
As long as it takes. With any kind of work for change, for social justice, for rights, it's not about whether we'll achieve it. It's that you have to work towards it, and eventually it will be achieved. You have to believe that. I believe that.
Not everyone embraces her beliefs. As the Olympic torch is poised to make its way into Tibet this weekend, many have criticized her for attacking what's known as a symbol of unity. But Tethong says growing up in Canada has inspired her to stand strong and fight for a cause without fear of reprisal. Lori Graham, CBC News, New York.